and over the week, and yeah, like there's gonna be a lot of interesting changes that we're gonna do. But the goal that we want to have is to make it easy for people to understand what they're using their tokens for, what they're staking for, and connecting developers and stakers. That's like the biggest like goal that we're trying to solve. Um, and so yeah, like uh, the the idea is that there are three types of of uh, of people in this dynamic. There are the hardware providers who have the hardware, the developers who develop the software, and the users that use that software. Um, or you don't have to be one of that group, but typically, from my experience, as a developer, I typically would have to find uh, hardware providers, or I would have to provide my own hardware. So we basically want to, for us, our plan is to essentially have use all of our compute, and we will be dedicating a lot of our servers. Will be like I have some deals with a few data centers, um, and we will basically be voting uh, for those data, like for those modules that we'll run to generate both emissions and dividends to cover those the cost of those servers, and then we'll be profit sharing with anyone that wants to mine or create new things on those computers. So at the moment, I'm totally fine with like giving all the incentives. So like when the way this works is like if someone votes for you, then you get incentive, and that incentive is then like after the incentives are calculated. So if like let's say I get like 10% of all the votes, then I get 10% of the incentive, which is half the rewards. And then the bonds are basically calculated by like seeing, okay, so I've got 10% of the rewards. Now that's distributed to like half of that is distributed to people that voted for me based on how much they staked. So that's a bit complicated. Even though we've simplified a lot of the code with the consensus algorithm compared to like UMA consensus, where they have a lot of like anti-cabal mechanisms. Our goal is to make it so that people understand specifically what they're staking on, and we want to preserve APR across no matter who you stake, at least in the early term. So the APR is pretty high, and essentially, like right now the APR was very variable because we had the trust score, which intended to reduce the ability for cabals to form. However, ironically, like some miners had a lot of trust, and a lot of miners had low trust. And the way it works is your trust is counted by how many people voted for you with non-zero stake, and that's multiplied by the stake that's voted for you. And so that made it very that would sometimes increase some people's APRs if they voted for high trust and high stakes models, and lowered APRs that voted for low trust. And so this was a problem because um, like this incentivized people to essentially vote for uh, high trust models. And I think this is probably a good point to bring up, that we will be starting this chain fully without that trust matrix set to zero. So we're going to be setting it to zero to have zero influence. Um, the people can propose changes on chain, and if more than 50% of the stakers in that subnet vote for that proposal, then it is automatically passed. And so this is like how it will work. Let me see if I can share my screen. Mhm. entire screen. Hold on. All right. Well, so you know what? Let's just all look at the general channel. I'm just gonna take screenshots. So basically, I've had some diagrams here, and so please everyone focus your attention on the general channel if you can. So what Commune is, it's quite simple, right? Doesn't seem simple right now, but it's pretty simple. Essentially, and so these modules can be anything we want them to be. Now, the flexibility is infinite, unlimited. And we also have subnets as well. So like, you know, modules can create their own subnet whenever they want to. They just need to have enough stake to cover the least stake subnet. And right now we have one registered subnet, and I think the max is 64. So like we could raise the max to as many as we want actually, because we fixed the number of total modules to be 10,000. So this doesn't bloat the chain. So, but for like, you know, just to be safe, we're gonna limit it to 64. Maybe I'll limit it to 128. But the reason why we didn't do subnets, because we did subnets actually when we launched the chain. Subnets were there. And we had like the way it worked is we had a root subnet, which was this subnet we have now. And you know, people could have created other subnets. And I figured that I didn't want to focus on that too much because I think the holy grail was to have a general subnet. And although I knew that would be a bit tricky to do, and so we needed to change our consensus algorithm away from UMA consensus because they aren't designed for the generalization. They're designed for very like UMA consensus is, incentivizes you as a validator to vote for higher trusted models, and so like, and we've seen this before during like when you have enough validators collude. In this case, the lower the amount of validators, the less amount of validators can collude. They all just need to vote for the same models over their IPs, and then there we go. They have trust, they have high trust, and they have high emissions, and they're all probably owned by the validator. So we kind of want to make people aware of that, and I think having a simple stake, whatever you want, and then you get the same APR, will open this economy up for anything that we want to fund. And so we'll be having, actually, like we'll be hosting, like we have around 14 million tokens in our supply, or in our possession right now, like, or that's how much I have. And so I want to make sure that all those tokens are equally distributed so that people are getting enough emissions to essentially cover their costs as well as generate income for building whatever they want to build. Not whatever really, it's whatever the community values. And so we're gonna have like in the next like week, we're gonna essentially have like proposals and like people like essentially like developers coming up and being like, okay, like I have this idea, who wants to stake it? And then they can register a module that represents that idea, and then people who find value in that, okay, yeah. Oh, go over T2. Yeah, people. I'll just finish what I'm supposed to say. People that find value in that will get APR, but also have access to that module, and that means we can do anything we want. So, for instance, I know a bunch of validators and miners on BitTensor network and on the OLIS network. I can basically say, hey, by creating a bridge, which is quite simple actually, we're using the same key. So you can actually have a key that mines tau and then register that key as a module, and then use that key to then like have people use like your tau validator or miner. And so obviously you could get DOSed on both sides, but this allows you to essentially create a module that not only mines one chain but any chain. And so, and this kind of goes into this whole theory of how everything we see in this network, like whether it's BitTensor, OLIS, or whatever, they're all assumptions of a certain set of ways servers can interact. And so we wanted to throw away those assumptions because we don't want developers having assumptions when they're building. We want them to focus on what they're doing as an application. And so our goal is to essentially create the least assumptions as possible so that it's very, very easy for us to then adapt to other assumption models. So yeah. So yeah, one question. Clarify the tokenomics. Okay. So let me share the tokenomic structure a bit. So basically, right now we're running at 250,000 tokens a day that are being minted. Half are being distributed to the voters, half are being distributed to the miners. You know, we also have a trust score, as I said. So it's, you know, it's simple. If when you register a model on the network, you can then vote with for other models on that network. And so the amount of votes you get is the amount of score, the amount of missions you get, right? That's simple, right? And so now if we add a trust matrix, we multiply that stake that you got as a valid. Like let's say if I voted like 20 tokens to your model, and I'm the only person that voted 20 tokens. No one else did. Then that means you get a trust score of 1. And that's multiplied by the stake. Now, if 2 people vote for you, you get a trust score of 2. And that's multiplied by the stake. And so that's essentially how the voting system works, at least on the incentive layer. So an assumption one thing I didn't do correctly, I think, was I multiplied them. I followed a bit of like this is similar to the BitTensor curve where they use like a sigmoid, whereas we're using a straight line. And we both multiply the stake. However, I think that's not wise because that creates a lot of variance, and there's a lot of like let's say if something's like 10, it's gonna get 10 times the reward. I think by having like an average between the two, or a ratio between 0 and 1, where 0 is no trust, and that's what we're going to start with, and 1 is full trust. So it's fully, there's no stake reward, it's just all trust. And so like I think we should start with 0 trust, and then people can make proposal to the voting system on like, okay, maybe we should do like 0.5 trust, or like half, like maybe like there's too many cabals forming, we can like do like 10%, which doesn't get the full effects we have now. Maybe it's like a mix between the two. So the idea is for us to like adjust based on like how like everyone feels, and how people like are feel is the most fair. I think that is fair. So yeah, so if there's any questions there, I'm gonna go into the bit of the voting system if you don't mind, just briefly. So yeah, so the voting system essentially consists of a proposal, and anyone can, like, on the net, anyone that's registered on the network can make a proposal. And the way we don't get, like, you know, the way we don't get too many proposals at once is that we will limit it to the top 100 proposals, and if someone when we reach that limit, if someone wants to make a proposal, it will replace the lowest voted proposal. And right now the votes are calculated based on like the stake. So you vote for a proposal. When I want to vote for a proposal, I just need the proposal ID. So when I submit a proposal, it will have an ID, an identifier, and then we'll have a dashboard that will essentially let you choose the proposals that you want to stake. and we'll also have you unstake proposals as well. So these proposals can actually last for a very long time. And actually, they don't have a time limit right now. The reason why I didn't want that is because I wanted people to kind of like have time to think about things, and I felt like having a time limit might have low turnout, and so it'd be best to just like limit the number of proposals, and then we'll let it naturally kick off the least favorite or the least voted for proposals. And so right now, for a proposal to pass, it would have to require 50% of the vote of like the chain. And so we could see how good this is. Like, obviously, we can change this. There are two types of proposals you can make. Well, this is actually, no, there's three right now. There's a subnet proposal. So this is changing the parameters in the subnet. And I'll show you the parameters of the subnet here. Params, I'm just going to show you the. And feel free to ask any questions on like what any of these mean if you don't have any understanding of what it is. But see, so the subnet params is here. So this is basically this is right now we have one subnet. So essentially it's basically like the global params and the subnet params are kind of mixed into one. But yeah, you got your mic on, bud. But yeah, so the subnet parameters are just the parameters of the subnet that you're in. So this tempo, the how many blocks do we wait like before we start recalculating the votes? The immunity period, how long do you stay before you get kicked off, before you can get kicked off? Minimum allowed waits, the minimum number of waits each module can set. Right now it's defaulted to one, so you can take as little as one, or you can vote for as little as one module. And then max allowed waits is obviously that's 820 or 840, I think. And so we basically have these parameters. The burn rate is essentially will be default to 0. If it's above, it's between 0 and 100. If it's above 0, then that will basically be the ratio of the emission that is being shared amongst the modules. So the ratio of the emission is right now, like, if everyone were to cover all of the emission, each module would have to pay about 16, 20 tokens a day. And so we want to be in an inflationary state. I think it's wise if we don't have the burn set to I think we should probably wait before we set it to 0 to allow this economy to form. Because as we increase the burn rate, that will also decrease the APR, the average APR. So it's like we're playing with two things here. And so another thing we're going to be adding as an option I don't think it's included in this subnet params is a quadratic voting option. So the quadratic voting option basically means that instead of it being linear, like if I stake 100 tokens on your module, it'll be worth 10 because it'll be taking the square root of. And so what this means is that there's a certain point, like this forces people to stake on multiple modules, not just have like 10 million or 20 million on one module. And so this actually would add more parity. However, it would take out the linearity. So it's not a 1-for-1 stake. So it's going to make it a little bit more confusing, I think. So I think we should we're gonna leave that defaulted as off. We're not gonna have quadratic voting, and we're going to, like, obviously I want to make a proposal later this week that will include what I think is the best option, and then if people like it, they'll vote for it. I have about 25% of the tokens, so even if I wanted to, I would need to get other people in the space to agree with me. So this actually means that I can't just make changes like just on a whim anymore. Well, I haven't. I've been asking the community, but now I literally can't. And so this removes all my pseudo commands because because not only can you change subnets, you could also change global parameters as well, which are the parameters across all subnets. So this would be the amount of modules that are registered per block. We control that. The total number of modules So if you want to increase it from 10,000 to like 20,000, like we could vote for that as well. And so we want to make sure that this is fully democratic, and so it's fair for most people, and hopefully for everyone. But yeah, like having global params. So I'm going to share the global params. And so, yeah, so the global params is like, what's the max name length? What's the max number of subnets you can have? What's the max allowed total modules? And so these are just like parameters that are not that are across all subnets. And does the more powerful hardware result in more reward? Yes. So how it's going to work is each module is going to advertise its ability, like its GPU and CPU access. And so like we could have specialized modules, but if you want to just, let's say I don't want to run a module, I want someone else to run for me, and I have like, I'm spending this much a month or this much a day renting this server. So someone needs to stake for you, like for that to be a viable project, you need to cover the cost of that server daily, right? And so that will result in you calculating how much stake you will need from someone to essentially run that. And so what we'll be doing as a program is we'll be staking we'll obviously be staking things that we think is useful. It could be OpenAI's API keys, could be whatever we want, right? But the idea is to make this a very, very diverse network and a stake economy where people that stake modules get access more to more of that module. And so, and yeah, let me show you a diagram there. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure. All right. It's just loud in there. That's why. Okay. All right. The noise, but yeah, the white paper. Well, I actually uploaded the white paper. It's in the white paper channel. There's a PDF there that goes in depth. And it also goes to the tokenomics as well. Yeah. What could be the reason to create a subnet if we have no consensus? Yes. So you could actually, so the consensus, so we allow you to toggle the trust matrix. The trust, so if you want to specialize a subnet, I would recommend having a trust score above 0, because the higher the trust score, the more you're forcing people to agree with you, for the validators to agree with each other. And so we're like, right now we have it pretty high on our general subnet. However, the reason why it's causing some issues is because it's not meant for, like, UMA consensus is not meant for general applications. It needs to be, you need to create a new subnet for a new application. So we want to give people the option to basically choose their parameters. If they don't agree with our parameters, and if they want to create a specialized subnet, we will give them, like, they will basically, for them to create a subnet, they would just have to, when they're registering a module, they would have to change the subnet name to a different name, and that's it. there's no like, there's nothing much to that. There's no approval. There's just like, you can just specify a different name than commune on the subnet parameter, and there we go. You've created a new subnet. And so in the new change, we'll be having a ratio of, like, as you create a new subnet, you'll be deciding what portion of that subnet, like what portion of that emissions, the total subnet emissions, you will get as a founder. And so this will incentivize anyone to create new subnets and generate their own emission, like, protocol if they don't agree with us. we didn't obviously advocate for this because we want to focus on like general subnets, but you can create any subnet you want. Like that's always been there. so this allows anyone to create something. 750K a day volume, OTCs and price still not moving. Miners slow down the offers and step the price up. Sure. Yeah, I try not to look at the price because I'm just building mostly, so like I try not to let that distract me, or Twitter. But what could be the reason? So yeah, the consensus to create a subnet would be that you would have you can set yourself a fee like as the founder to generate like to basically like return some emissions. So like that's essentially the incentive that you would have. So but you know the emissions of each subnet is based on the amount of tokens that are on each subnet. So if one subnet has 10% of the tokens, then that will get 10% of the emissions. And so yeah, that's basically how it works. So how I envision this to happen is that we have the general network that will start new ideas, and it will fund new ideas. And then if those ideas scale large enough, and if they're robust enough, then they will then like form their own subnets, and then you'll basically have a multi subnet chain eventually that will naturally form out of like from the root subnet, which is our original subnet. I don't think that's really necessary, but that could happen. Like you know, I've given people the option to do that. No, each subnet has its own namespace. In fact, there is no such thing technically as a root subnet in Commune. All these subnets are equal. Um, yeah, that's actually a big differentiator than BitTensor, their voting system, where they have it's still pretty permissioned because you have the root subnet basically permissioning a lot of the changes, and that's obviously you have the trivariate, and then you know only certain people can propose stuff. So like I need to know more about the protocol to talk more about it, but because I haven't looked at it in a while. But yeah, like this is fully permissionless. Like this is like you know you don't have to, anyone can propose it, and the most staked proposals stay on the board, and we'll keep, I'm thinking we'll probably keep 32 to 64 proposals constantly there, and you know these proposals don't have to change anything. Like you have a custom proposal that you just put in data, like you just put in a string of what you want, of like, hey, I think that Sal should do this, and it's like it's not technically a proposal, but like that changes this chain, but it's a proposal that's basically verified on chain, that we've made that might be, let's say it's perhaps not like a proposal that involves changing the chain, but basically this is a very general voting system where you can make a proposal to change the global parameters or a subnet. And if you make a change to the subnet, then you have to be in that subnet, obviously. You can't be outside that subnet. And if it's a subnet that you're voting on, if it's a subnet proposal, then the votes are calculated within that subnet, not across the whole thing. So only people within the subnet can change those subnet parameters. Or a founder has full control of the subnet. The founder will be able to have the ability to switch off or on their authoritarian role. So if the democratic variable is off, then they're still in control. Like they can only make the changes. If the democratic variable's on, then they have lost control. Like they cannot get back control anymore. For them to get back control, the users have to vote them back in. So, so when you're creating a subnet, be very wary of. I would recommend initially doing vote. Like I would initially doing an authoritarian mode to kind of like settle things down, and then when you have the parameters settle, um, I would then switch it to democratic mode when you want to. But this will give many people the option to create many incentive systems, and we'll be adding as many parameters as we can to allow you to create flexible subnets that can represent. You can have it like BitTensor if you want to, or you can have it like a completely simple one, like the general one we're doing. The idea is to make this simple and very general as well. But yeah. Um, will all subnets share the same names? No, they won't. Sorry, I think I answered that question. It's a different namespace. But it's quite easy to merge those namespaces off chain. Like I literally just like get all the name, like they're all dictionaries of, or they're all mapped from names to addresses. So for me to merge them all into one global name, that I just merge them. So it's actually quite interoperable, like where you can call across different subnets. But yeah, we don't need subnets. Like I think subnets are only useful for very specialized like like if you want something specialized and if you want a lot of modules to coordinate amongst that, you can have a special subnet to do something specific if we're not doing it correctly. But I would argue that our staking system will be more intuitive. I don't think subnets are intuitive to users, which is why I try to avoid like yeah. Why is it better than BitTensor? Well, for one, like Commune was designed to be a superset of all these incentive layers. When I left BitTensor, I felt that they were acting in a specific way, and uh, like, and I don't know, there are certain aspects that I wanted to promote more generality and more flexibility for the creators, and I felt that BitTensor limited me as a developer to create whatever I wanted to. And I think that having an economy where anyone can create something without going through like a permission like board, where you register something and someone can vote for you, and then that generates you income, and that generates the person voting for you income and access. I don't know. That's the way it is. But yeah, I would say our similarities are that we're obviously using a form of Uno consensus. I do think that we've generalized the consensus to encompass both general and specific subnetworks. And we're just going to keep on generalizing it and adding more parameters. And so we can have subnets that completely replicate any network we want. So like, even if like it doesn't matter what people build, like, we can just connect it. We don't even have to have a subnet. I can have like 10 miners or validators on like across like BitTensor, and then like vote for those like I can vote 1,000,000 tokens across those like 20 like 10 or 20 validators, and they're generating both emissions from the community from both communities, and then we'll also have the ability to bridge like instantly like Tau into Commune and Commune to Tau and Commune into Ethereum. Like, and so like you'll be making Commune, but if you really want to, you can constantly bridge that into Tau emission. So you're essentially doubling your Tau, like you're essentially multiplying your Tau emission. And like, yeah, like this works for any network. Like we've generalized it so that you can like create any mining protocol, and people will vote for you, and then you divide the emissions with them. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. I guess another adjusting the potential a little bit. Without spreading too much FUD. Like I guess there are certain red flags that like whenever when I joined it, I was like expecting there to be like this like revolution type vibe. But what I kind of expected, what I got instead was like, a lot of legalese, a lot of bureaucracy, and like I didn't feel like it was a lot. It was very free for me to express my ideas. Um, and I also didn't like the in and out group that BitTensor had, where you had private channels with developers, and the people would have a different channel, and then so I like to me that that bothered me. And that's not just specific to BitTensor. That's just how we do business now. Like I think we need a new form of business where I don't want to have full-time employees. I want anyone to join our community and like and contribute and like I don't want them to go through like a hiring process. Like they just show me their code and make a PR, and if we approve it, we'll pay them. Like that's like it's as simple as that. Um, but yeah, like I like the goal of this is to essentially be a very general network where like a stock exchange or like a hedge fund, we're so diversified in so many applications um, that it's very hard for one app. Like if the market shifts, we can easily shift. Like we don't have to destroy our subnets. We don't have to like we don't have to change. Like literally, you can just update the name and like of your module from like, oh, I went from, let's say if AI goes down the shitter and then crypto goes back up. Oh no, all my model OpenAI endpoints turn into like NFT endpoints now. It's just like it's like it's like we can change that on a dime. And so and people can switch subnets too. Like you don't have to stay in that subnet. You can switch. You can deregister. Like this is going to be very fluid. So I think this is much more fluid than BitTensor's protocol, and we're also changing a lot faster too. Um, and I think that's because we just gave the community like all the funds that we raise. We aren't like putting that into fancy like events or parties or anything. Like we're just giving that back to the community. In fact, we're not spending enough. I think we can spend more. um, like because like I'm very frugal with spending, and I want to grow this as best I can. So like if you know anyone that maybe has a cool idea or like is really smart in anything, then like feel free to tell them to like reach out to me or propose ideas in the bounties channel. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm acquiring 10H100s and would love to chat. Yeah. So yes, this will be interesting. So I will be like, if you own a lot of tokens, I don't know who owns a lot of tokens here. Other than my like, I'm like, okay, I know how much I have, but I don't know if someone's sparking a cigarette. but um, but I don't know like how much other like this is like I can track based on IPs, but like it's hard to say people can be using multiple IPs and stuff like that. So if you have lots of tokens and you want to, I don't know if you're selling them or not, but it's like if you want to help grow this network, then like I would say contact me and I will try to guide how we can like spread out these tokens to as many people as possible so that like my goal personally is to fight um to make things fair, make sure people that whatever they're putting on the network, whatever they're spending, they're getting some type of like emission that at least covers their cost. Um and then plus some. And right now what the reality is that some people are doing very well and then other people aren't doing as well. And that's why I actually did that validator. Like I started like doing these parity validators, which basically started voting for lower trust modules so that I would increase. And that was actually at my detriment because I'm lowering my emission by doing that. But I'm trying to increase the emissions of other people. Um, and and so like that's because like I don't need control of the net. Like I just want to have the ability to control maybe like I don't know, I don't like I'm fine with like 5 or 10% over the next few years. As long as I'm comfortable with the community self-governing and knowing what's best for itself. Because even though I might not have majority control, people that might have larger stakes are not incentivized to crash the price because that's just bad for them. And if they do, we have liquidity providers to help support that price if it reaches a certain level. So we want to make sure this is a long-term project, and so yeah, like I think the way we can do that is by diversifying our applications to as many things as possible. So voting for like or maybe hiring people to build like API connections and then voting for those. And then eventually we'll like we can actually generate like revenue from like subscription models where people will use our network instead of signing up for one API. Maybe they pay $10, I don't know, a month, or if we can figure out a monthly schedule, but they can pay in like Ethereum, Commune, Tau, Olus, whatever. and that monthly revenue goes into paying for these APIs, and so that will be divided to the community, um, based on how much the external community likes us. So that's the goal, is to make this not like competitive in terms of nature. Like, yeah, it's going to be an attention competition. Like, like BitTensor essentially is like more of like, okay, I'm going to create a validator. Can you score high on this, right? But what does that ultimately mean? Like, what does that score mean? It doesn't mean anything to the user. Like, I don't know, like, as a user, if I'm storing an object in the cloud, I don't know what like SHA 256 is. I don't know what the verifications are. I just know that my thing's staying in the cloud, and when I call it, I get the same value. Like, and so there are certain guarantees that I think, obviously developers need to ensure products are successful. But I think if we focus on what the users want more directly, and if we tie in, like, we let users vote for the best applications, then that to me is a more fluid economy, and it actually removes the validator, like, totally. It will connect users directly with developers, and then those developers can then profit share with hardware providers. And so we have that mechanism as well that we're introducing, the profit share mechanism, which essentially is, let me see if I have a diagram here for it. But it's not too difficult, right? All right, let me do this. I didn't put this diagram. I have many diagrams. But here's basically how the validators work, right? It's like you got Alice, Bob, Chris, and Danny. They're all staking on this module, and then that module is then voting for different modules on the network based on what Alice, Bob, Chris, and Danny want, right? And so basically, like, this is essentially how commercial validators are going to work on BitTensor. They're going to be transitioning away from, and you can ask the validators this, they all think that the APR is going to go down and down over time. And so eventually that APR, like, we have, for us to reach BitTensor's APR, I think we're actually under their inflation curve. Like, by almost half, like, yeah, we're actually very under their inflation curve. Like, so if we were running, we have started at 42 million tokens. So let's say 21 million to standardize it with them. Like, we would be, I think, emitting equivalent of, I think, 5 or 6,000 tokens a day if we were at the same total supply as BitTensor. The current APR is around 50%. But the trust matrix kind of fucks it all up. But when we remove the trust matrix, the APR should be like 40 to 50%. And we'll have to do a recalculation. But it's over 40%. If it's based on linear voting. The trust matrix did make it a bit confusing and hard to calculate. So I think if we remove that, people will have the same APR for no matter what they vote. And so this just allows for, like, eventually, like, if your APR is so much, it's like, okay, now my APR is the same no matter what I vote. Now I want to vote for things that increase my APR in other areas, not just in Commune. So that fixed APR, I think, is important for encouraging people to develop actually useful things, because they don't have to focus on, like, their APR. They just focus on either attracting other people to vote for them, or going out and finding developers that can do other things aside from, like, doing what they're doing in Commune. So I think having this fixed APR is good for having people focus on funding really cool stuff. Yes. So okay, yeah. So I want to go through the profit sharing. The profit sharing model will be rather simple. When you're a module and you're registered on the network, you get a mission, right? Either both from dividends and from incentive. Now, the default is you don't have any profit shares. Like, there's no like, it's just you. You're getting all 100% of your dividends and emission. And this is also including the delegate fee. Like, they get their portion too. So you as a module, like you're like, okay, I get these emissions and I'm getting 100%. Now, what if two people want to work on the same module? Or what if it's a team of people? What if it's 10 people? How do we distribute that trustlessly? Like originally, it would be probably one module would take it, and then you would hope that that module owner or the key owner would divide that properly. Now what we have is profit sharing. So you basically would have to specify the key and the ratio of that profit that you want to share with someone else, and in real time you will both get like as the emissions are being generated, you and other keys that you put as profit sharing will be getting those incentives into the balance. If the key is not registered on the network, it will go directly to their balance. If they are registered on the network, it will go into their stake. And so like this means that anyone outside or in the network can now, like, you can now have a module that creates its own subnet. There doesn't have to be that module can use the profit sharing scores as a voting system. like obviously you don't have as much flexibility as like changing the parameters of the subnet, but this is what I mean is that we don't need subnets. It's because each module, that profit sharing mechanism, allows you to vote on other like people off the chain, and so this creates a layer 2 version of Commune already automatically. So this will expand. Like we have 8,000 slots in the network, but off chain we can have like 100,000, like a million, right? Like this means that like we're very like very scalable, and like we focus a lot. We've actually focused more on off-chain tech than on on-chain tech, which what most people don't know about is that we're actually mostly an off-chain protocol, and we have Cabal tools as well. So like I did run a Cabal for a bit on BitTensor a few months ago, like and I have tools that I want to share to the community that will help us all basically form whatever cabal we want as a community in order to avoid censorship. Because the community can still censor you. As I was censored by getting kicked off of the community. Like I don't think I'm still part of their Discord, but the communities can still censor you even though they're trying to do open source stuff. Like community, like open source tech is not what you think it is. If it's trademarked, if I'm creating an open project that's for the world, and if I trademark that, what is that telling my true intentions of open source, of being open? It just means to me, like most companies are like that. It pisses me off because they're not being honest. I don't care about profitability. That's good. That's fine. But what I care about is when people say they're for something and then they'll like sue other people for trying to do the same thing. That gives me so much anger and energy at the same time. It's why I'm creating all these things so quickly. It's because I am pissed at a lot of the companies I've interacted with that have been two-faced with their true intentions. And so I'm going for the throat of all these fuckers. I'm like, these guys all deserve to be. I think it's not right. It's not right when you take control of a community and you have certain platform locks in place. I think it really does make me mad, and I apologize for my swearing, but it's like this is what I've seen many times in the community, and I think that it's not going to matter when AI becomes so powerful because your trademarks are not going to protect you from anything. The AI is going to replicate anything you think of, even if you have a trademark on it. They're going to replicate it on a server in like I don't know, like Indonesia. Like it's like we need to prepare for this new economy of being open and like connectable and like sharing things, because it's like it's not like our current way of thinking is not going to last for a long time. Like when AI becomes very very powerful, like we're only seeing. Sorry. Oh, why did they kick me out? Oh yeah, because Uh, I was a vocal critic, so I could see I was being annoying. But uh, yeah, like they thought I hacked the network too. But yeah, no, it's some valid reasons, but I think it was mainly the reason was I said that they were experiencing a cabal. Um, so can you mute yourself, whoever's. But they were having cabal in April, and I was warning everyone that you guys should worry about these cabals. And then I was kicked off, and then a month later they said that uh, we found out the cabal. So I think I touched a nerve, and that forced. I don't know if that's true, but I literally said that. That was the last thing I said. Same reason they kicked out. Yeah, I asked too many questions, and that was actually I really hope. So when I joined BitTensor, I actually wanted to. I do see a multi-chain future, and I've been people have known me for a while. I have been like championing, like have known that I say this. I don't think it's going to be one chain. Like Commune will be able to do anything it wants, but it needs other chains, other protocols to interlace with. So like, and if it was one chain, then that wouldn't be cool either. Like it's like it's I don't know. It's like I want to give people the individual freedom, even if it means creating their own chain. Which is why like people might fork from us. There are some people that told me they want to fork from us too, but that's okay because if they fork from us and if they create a slightly different protocol, they still have the namespace. They will most likely have the namespace, and we will easily interface with that namespace. As long as they have a namespace, or as long as I have a set of IPs, addresses, then we can easily interface with that. So yeah. Oh, is this Baron? Okay, why is come on? How do I mute him? Oh wait, okay, so mute. Oh, let's mute him. All right, he's muted. um, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? There were 6 minutes. So yeah. So tomorrow, I'm still working a bit on the dashboard. The dashboard essentially will have the ability to stake. Like it's going to make things a lot easier. What I'm having issues with now a little bit is like I want to basically have it like save transact, like have it run background transactions. So it's like when you click like submit, it will like not wait for the finalization. It'll just send it into a queue and then like tell you when it's finished, and then have like a history of your past transactions and the ones that are pending, the ones that are finished. Um, yeah, what can you use Commune AI for? Yeah, so you can use for anything. Literally, even if there's no incentive at all, like you literally can like from anywhere like host anything you want, and anyone can connect to it. Like so this is essentially meant for connecting everything. Oh yeah, yeah. So we're actually not affiliated with ComSwap, and we know that this is actually okay. I'm I'm gonna mute this guy. I thought I muted him. I'm gonna kick him. All right, kicked him. Hopefully I didn't ban him, but um, yeah. So we know that they haven't doxed themselves, and I am trying to get them to dox themselves as as early as possible. Um, and they have to feel comfortable with it. But ideally, I'll be honest. I want the exchange to be fully open source. Um, like and honestly, like there are some exchanges that are happening. People have told me that they want to create their own open source exchange, and so whoever's willing to, like, if for some reason ComSwap doesn't want to create an open source for whatever personal reasons, like they have obviously security reasons they can mention, and hopefully they're transparent about those reasons, and we can have those discussions. But yes, like if it was up to me, I would essentially have I'd be comfortable if they were fully doxed and open sourced when they're comfortable to do so, obviously. And if they're not comfortable doing that, then I welcome anyone else to help build an exchange, create a module that essentially represents an exchange, um, and be a competitor and gain community support if they trust you. I think that's a void in the market right now. Right now, there's one major exchange, but they have also been very, very like the reason like they we also have to know that like there's an incentive for them to not cheat as well, because they're making 1% on the volume. So if they were to just like if they were incentivized to destroy the project, then that ruins their volume. But yes, like I would ideally I would like them to dox themselves. Yes. But I'm not forcing anyone to dox anyone, so I think it would have to be up to them ultimately. But I do not know. Like they came to me. If I'd known them, that would be illegal. Like I would not be able. I can't create an exchange for my own like token. Like that would label it instantly as security, I think. Um, so it was very convenient that they stepped up to the challenge. And yeah, that helped this community grow. Yes. So I want to talk a bit about the EVM stuff too. So we're still we're still making sure everything's in order for tomorrow's update. We may post the EVM for a few days because we're concerned that smart contracts can bloat the chain. And so we're still thinking about how to prevent that. And I'm trying to talk with like Polkadot's team to like understand how we can mitigate this. Um, but as if we could just try what's happening and then see what happens. But yeah, like we do have I'll make an announcement later today whether the EVM will be in support tomorrow. But our main focus should be mostly the uh mo mostly it would be the like our main focus would be just in the incentive layer. That I think is the true holy grail that we're trying to solve is how do we connect people who are if you have tokens like most of you probably don't know what Commune is even doing or what it is. Maybe you got it because you thought it was a cool thing, right? And that's cool, right? Like people make money that way, but I don't want it to be that. I want it to be something that you actually like can feel like, oh, these tokens can actually use these models, um like just by staking, because we're in an inflationary period right now. We want to grow. You can stake models and and so and not have to pay. Like maybe you could have a monthly fee, but by you staking, you're adding deflationary pressure. And so this economic model is very weird because it's like as long as the market is I guess as long as the price is stable, like I actually like a stable price because it means that like people can use it for more useful things other than like just trading on volatility. But I want people to start using their tokens for staking on like useful things and cool projects. Yes, yes. So we will be having tutorials, but we'll also be doing this. Well, I'm going to be so this week I'm going to be connecting all of the computers that I have, and I am going to try my best to give it to the community. All the computers I have, um, and anyone can access any of those computers. Obviously, I'll have some computers with like personal information, but I want people to deploy anything they want. They'll have a code snippet that they'll upload. Like they'll basically a module have all their code and like paste it into like, let's say, uh, when you create a module, like I'll have it so that you can just have insert your code. It'll just be like you just have like your code, you can upload a folder, whatever, and then we'll deploy it on one of our nodes. And we'll actually show if those nodes have GPUs, if they're CPUs, and so we want to essentially saturate all of these nodes, and we will be voting for these nodes as well. So there will be honest cabals here, is what I want to say, and that's essentially to make sure that the node providers uh, can pay for the compute, and then anything on top of that, I want to then give to the builders. So that's why this profit sharing mechanism is good, because when, let's say, you register a module on one of our nodes, or like, let's say if you don't have compute and we have compute, then we could essentially have an agreement where you're like, okay, well, as long as you're cutting me in for maybe 20% and the hardware provider for 30%, you can use this for free because we're generating enough emissions to get the price to essentially pay for the compute. And so now this allows for a very, very liquid economy of developers who don't have compute having compute by anyone that thinks like if we think that, like, if you're like someone in a country that doesn't have good access to compute, or if you just aren't able to access certain compute, we want to give you access to that. And so anyone with any, like, if you have H100s, you're gonna need more votes to power those H100s, right? This is a direct economy that we're trying to build. This isn't an indirect economy through validators. This is, I stake for something, I can use it more. Like, I really want this linear. I really want this simplicity to bake in people's minds in terms of how they vote, because I didn't think this was possible for a lot of crypto projects, and we really need to hone in on like the simplicity of like, I stake for something, I can use it, and both of us get rewards. That's it. What is stopping me from using Stable Diffusion or a model on my own personal computer? Oh, so yeah, you could do that. You could use Stable Diffusion on your own computer. Like that, we're not saying you shouldn't do that. However, if you connect to the network, you have access to all these different computers with different things. With some could be running like slightly altered data stable. Some could be running just space models. Oh, 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 can't. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm gonna. It's choppy. Oh, geez. Okay, 1 second. Let me. Okay. How about now? Are we good? All right, cool. Um, so yeah, you could run Stable Diffusion on your computer as well, but in the future, you might not be able to run everything on your computer. Like there might be really big models and really big things that are running on other computers, and also you might want faster inference time. So, like, by all means, you could, I think, but I think the future economy will be more so you'll have larger models running like somewhere remotely, and then you'll have these smaller local models that fine tune to your experience, and those that actually that's something that we're also working on. We have one developer or a few developers that are working on personal adapters, so we can have we're going to have a bunch of base models that are running, and we'll have you fine tune on anything you want. Um, like, you just have to have it in a folder. So it could be like, any information about something, and we'll fine tune it over that. So we're having we want to have a fine tuning economy as well. And so how this will work would be, um, when we'll have a bunch of models in our servers, and then if you want to fine tune a model, specific model, you could stake us, and then you can fine tune it, and then you can download your weights, and we won't save them locally. Like, obviously we can if we wanted to, and perhaps there's a trust element there. But the idea is for you to have access to a lot of people that can do that, so that even if you don't trust most people, hopefully you trust at least some that are willing to fine tune for you. So this creates a very open economy of anyone offering any service, and then someone else like offering stake or another asset for a transaction in that service. Yeah. What with the addition of blockchain tech, will prompts become part of the public? But no, that's not that's not necessary. Um, we want to keep the chain light. Uh, on the ledger, we could store caches technically of the prompts, but I would say prompts. No, that's totally not necessary. At least right now. Like there are other ways of privacy preserving methods that don't require the chain. Um, but yeah, your prompts aren't like when you interact with a model, they can store your prompts. So there are ways in which you can, if you don't want that, there are ways in which you can like interact with models where you would have to host a certain part of the model um, that then sends a very like let's say the first few layers that then sends an embedding to that model, and then that model can then send you back the response, and then they could still reconstruct the sentence maybe, but it would be much harder to do that um, for an adversary. Um, but yeah, there are other ways of privacy preserving methods that don't require blockchain. Um, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Because yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I have to continue doing, but feel free to ask. Either I can ask them or the community can ask them, but I'll answer a few questions here if you guys want. It, ideas could be anything you want. Anything like ideally, obviously, they could be like people should be able to use them and they have to be useful. But it's like don't hesitate to just pitch directly to me or in the bounties channel. Yeah, if any of you have any ideas, just suggest, and if you want like let's say some form of funding, like please propose them in the bounty channels. So I can then like we can talk about them then, and then if let's say something I like, then yeah, and any of the stakers that want to diversify and help make the network more useful, like try maybe you can make deals with certain like developers and like have a profit sharing agreement. Like okay, if you create these things for me that people find useful, then I'll give you 20% or 40% of the profit that we generate. Um, so so this makes it very interesting, to say the least. Depends. It really does depend. Like, there's no respect requirements for Commune. You could be running an open AI endpoint and then wrapping a certain like, you know, some wrapper over it. Like you can run a GPT, like a Chat GPT's endpoint, and interface with the GPT's API. Like, yeah, you could do that, man. Yeah, you could do that. You could do Champion Nation. Yeah, you could build whatever you want to, and then let me know as long as there's like an API for some way to use to interact with, like then just let me know, man. Like, and we could add it to the network, man. And if people like it, they're gonna vote for it. Yeah, and so we're gonna have like some Discord bots as well that will like do proposals in real time. So there will be like off-chain like agents that will essentially collect proposals from Discord, and then they will present them. As work is that you say how much, like what your idea is, how much you're looking for, um, and what's the description of that. And so we'll have a module that collects those and then posts it on Discord, or maybe on Twitter as well through a different channel, like through like maybe like a commune Twitter bot channel. Um, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of different agents that will be running on the network. and off the network. One last thing I think I would quick touch on. Yeah. Okay. So we have multi-unstake functions. I know this is a big common concern and issue. Yeah. So there are things that you can do when you have a staked module. We'll have asynchronous. You can like multi-transactions where to solve that issue is you would essentially need to unstake all of your modules and then transfer them back to your key. What we could do is so right now how I do it is like I'll just asynchronously call a bunch of unstaked functions and then I'll asynchronously like there's like a multi-transfer function. So you can use the multi-transfer to transfer like no sorry no that works the other way. No, you would have to do asynchronously unstake them and then you'd have to asynchronously like transfer them to a wallet. But we will have an off-chain like there's this concept called loops. So we have like these loops which are just essentially like basically just loops that just check do one thing and check and check and check. And so we'll have like a loop that essentially will check how much stake you'll want, and then like if it's above a certain amount, it will transfer it to your main wallet, which will be like your root. It'll be like your root key that you specify. So we'll have those like auto loops that will constantly unstake and transfer to a root key. Is actually what we were doing when doing Cabals and BitTensor. We would basically have a bunch of keys on different machines and then periodically unstake them, send them to a root key, and then restake. um, yeah, but yeah, we'll be doing that. The chain currents. So I just believe in building cool stuff. We're gonna have a lot of cool Twitter stuff. Like we're gonna allow. Uh, I want people to access the whole network through our through one Twitter channel. So we'll call it some funky name or something, but we'll have it like access any module through like tweets. So like you can like call anything. You can call like a BitTensor validator through tweets, or like you can call like it'll be pretty weird. Um, so yeah, like that I think just like creating stuff like cool stuff like I think eventually will just attract attention. I really believe I don't believe so much in investing in marketing. I didn't invest a single dime in marketing, and we've grown to this insane size. So all I do is just build, 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 and yeah, I'm kind of trolling on Twitter too. So like that might help as well.
Uh,
um, okay, so there is a website that we're technically um, multi-channel marketing. Okay, well, yeah, we can think about it. I'm not opposed. I'm not directly opposed to it. We could think about it. Yes, our official domain will be communeai.org. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I agree. Mhm. Founded by less ethical devs and bigger budgets and bot farms. Yes. So yeah, that's definitely a concern. We want to make sure that uh, I guess right now, I guess I'm just focused on just making something business viable product, like ensuring that revenue is coming from outside the chain, into the chain. And I think the only way we can do that is through building tools that are usable. Um, like an example would be Open Router. They they're a protocol that is permissioned, or not really a protocol, but they're permissioned, and we have a module for that. And they're making a decent amount of, of money just by routing different models, right? So like if we have a monthly model or a monthly subscription where you could either pay for access or like if you don't have tokens, then you don't need to have Commune tokens to use the network. You can have some sort of like Ethereum or Bitcoin, and then we'll accept that as well. But we want to expand this economy to many things. So you being able to use anything you want with cryptocurrency, not just with like Commune tokens, but with anything. And I think this interoperability makes things more useful. Correct. So I think we are 80 minutes in. So I'll probably stop this session now because I'm going to go back to uh, making sure the new upgrade will be in time. But yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out or ask questions. Although I warn you, I'm very busy, so I apologize for anyone. Also, any of your devs, and if for some reason I forgot to pay you, please bother me until I do. Um, and I should learn to do it the first time. But yeah, like people that, and I just show me the PR, and then I'll quickly review it, and then like we'll go on our way. But yeah, like apologies if for those that have missed a few days of payments. So I've been very scatterbrained and very busy. This is ongoing for me for the past 3 years, so it's like I'm used to it. But and I enjoy it. But it's like you should also care for people that help out. Yeah, and if you all know any potential miners or validators that might be interested in making connecting their model to the ecosystem, to anything basically, then yeah, don't feel free to have them reach out, and we'll see what we can do for them. And that also applies for any other protocol as well. But right now, the focus protocols of interest are uh, two, OLIS and BitTensor. OLIS is a little tricky to understand for me still, but I'll get to it. But yeah, if anyone creates any bridge, then I will have a bounty for that. For each bridge that's created to any network. Okay. Right. I will pause. I will continue off, offline, on chain, off chain, and yeah. Also, yeah, like next week, next Monday, we'll have our hackathon. So uh, that hackathon obviously doesn't. It's not for that hour. Like we'll have anyone that presents something. Um, we'll be voting on chain to decide the best project. And yeah, like I think the best projects will get a prize award. I have to decide the amount, but yeah, it'll be on top of the bounties, of course. if it's a bounty and project. But yeah, feel free to show anything you want. The only requirement is that you have to register it on the network. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna peace out. But till next time. Yeah, this is obviously long road ahead, but I think we're very close to something very magical. So let's get to it and stay frosty. Peace, guys. All right, peace, boys. Take care.